Taiwan's presidential elections is still nearly 2 years away, but a former U.S. diplomat has already stirred a bit of controversy after his comments were interpreted by many in Taiwan to mean that the U.S. is planning to throw its weight behind its preferred candidate. During prepared remarks at a Washington, D.C. conference on cross-strait relations, former AIT Director Richard Bush said that he believes there's a need for the U.S. to express its views on how the country's interests will be affected by Taiwan's elections.
It's the voters of friendly democratic countries who should be the ones to pick their leaders at the ballot box. And the United States should not try to influence their votes by expressing a preference for one candidate or the other. On the other hand, the United States does have interests in the policies of any elected leadership, whether it's Taiwan or a lot of other places.
Now, to be clear, Richard Bush is no longer a U.S. official, and both AIT and the U.S. State Department have moved to distance themselves from the comments after they stirred a backlash. Still, the attitudes reflected in the comments raise some interesting questions about how much the U.S. is willing to sit on the sidelines of Taiwan's domestic politics when its security interests are at stake. So to get his insights on the topic, I spoke with Professor Edward Yixin Chen with the Graduate Institute of the Americas at Tom Kang University. I started off our conversation by asking Professor Chen what he believes to be the significance of the comments.
I think his comment shows or can reflect the U.S. government fundamental position toward Taiwan or toward cross-strait relations, because the United States basic policy is trying to maintain political balance, if not military, across the strait, so that China will not use its force against Taiwan, and Taiwan can defend itself with the assistance of the United States according to Taiwan Relations Act. Another thing is that Taiwan should not take a provocative approach toward China, because doing so it will hurt U.S. national interest in this region, in the Asian Pacific region, and the United States. That's why the United States is always taking a neutral position across the strait. On the one hand, the United States tries to meet the demands of Taiwan so that it can defend itself well, and on the other hand, the United States tries to set some restraints on Taiwan's government remarks and behavior, so that it would not provoke China in a way that the United States has to be involved in one way or another.
I think what a lot of people in Taiwan were reacting to is, to them it sounded like Richard Bush was signaling that the U.S. is going to involve itself more in Taiwan's domestic politics. Do you think that that's what we can take away from his comments? Do you think that it is a sign that the U.S. is interested in getting more involved in Taiwan's domestic politics?
I think most people in Taiwan understand that is the basic position of the United States toward Taiwan, because the United States wants Taiwan not to be a troublemaker in the region, so that the United States would not be forced to be involved in any unnecessary conflict across the strait. So although some people in Taiwan may not be happy with Richard Bush's remark, but most people understand that it's a part of political reality. We should, no matter whether we like it or not, we should live up with U.S. position in this region, because when Taiwan is in danger, the United States does dispatch its aircraft carrier battle group to the waters of Taiwan Strait. Since the United States has played such kind of role, so therefore, Taiwan should accommodate the U.S. nationalists in one or another, so that we both sides can maintain a special relationship, and in this way, Taiwan can be much safer.
From the U.S.'s position, what would convince them that a candidate is going to maintain peace across the strait? Like, what kind of policies are they looking for that would signal that this is a candidate who would support peaceful cross-strait relations?
According to our past experience, we could see that the United States wants future president of Taiwan who can manage the cross-strait relationship very well. For example, more than 3 years ago, when DPP's presidential candidate Tsai Ing-wen paid a visit to the United States, and the United States national security team did not think that DPP presidential candidate Tsai Ing-wen is qualified to manage close relations because she could not explain clearly to the U.S. side that what her Taiwan consensus is. Okay, so since the United States could not understand what she meant by Taiwan consensus, so the United States does not believe that she could manage close-trade relations very well. Nowadays, since Taiwan's government, now ruled by the KMT, could not manage the relationship between the executive branch and the legislative branch very well. So the United States added it, at least Richard Bush added it as the second prerequisite for U.S. support. And since the Sunflower Student Movement occurred in March, the United States believed that if Taiwan is going to have its agreement between Taiwan and mainland China be approved by the Congress, it should maintain a good relationship with the student and all the youth, all the social movement supporters. So that's the third requirement turned out to be the future. Any future Taiwan president should manage its relationship between the government and the society very well.
And if we look at the examples of times when the U.S. has sort of signaled its thoughts about candidates over and over again, it seems like the candidate that they favor has been the KMT candidate. So is it safe to assume that the U.S. is just going to consistently support the KMT, or do you think that they're really seriously looking at each election and each individual and assessing which is the one that best upholds those values that you just described?
I would say the United States does not necessarily support the KMT presidential candidate. In the year of 2000, when DPP presidential candidate Chen Shui-bian won the election, the United States has demonstrated its strong support to Taiwan's party's rotation, and DPP becoming the ruling party. So any future DPP presidential candidate can meet the demands or the prerequisite of the United States. I think the United States will support.
After I spoke with Professor Edwin Yixin Chen, I wanted to take this question of which party is closer to the U.S. directly to the DPP. So I called up Dr. Ketty Chen, who serves as the acting director of the DPP's Department of International Affairs, and asked her whether or not she agrees that the U.S. tends to support KMT candidates.
I believe that the perception came from maybe the KMT, on the KMT side, they get more report or airtime when it comes to their communication with the United States. But at the same time, I really do believe that more communication and more open communication is good for the DPP to try to clear out some of the misconceptions and perception of the Democratic Progressive Party. So I really do look forward to having more conversation with officials and representatives from the United States. So I think through that, we could establish better understanding on our positions and have constructive dialogue between the United States and the DPP. So if that's the case, I really think that the perception that the U.S. has certain preference, KMT over the DPP, will disintegrate by itself.
So you're saying that there are actually some misunderstandings between the DPP and some policymakers in the U.S.? What are some of those misunderstandings?
I'm saying that not misunderstanding per se, but clarification of policies such as, for example, the DPP position in trade, that many have said that the DPP is protectionist and DPP is not supportive of open trade with foreign countries due to its political stance. And for example, this is one of the issues that I think that the DPP can do better in clarifying to the United States, and not just United States, but Taiwan's trading partners, that the party is more than willing to work with different countries and international partners to establish a solid trading relationship.
What a number of DPP representatives have said after Richard Bush made these comments, they basically said, well, he's a private individual, he can make whatever comments he would want. What would you say would be the line that maybe not even necessarily the U.S. government, but any foreign government talking about Taiwan or getting involved in Taiwan affairs, what is the line that they would have to cross for you to say, okay, that is encroaching on Taiwan's domestic politics, that's a bridge too far, that's something that we can't accept? What would be the line?
I think the line is that I think what Taiwanese wants, it's not just what the DPP wants. It's for foreign influence to kind of taking a step back and at least remain neutral when the Taiwanese people, it's time for them to make the decision to choose their leaders. So I think endorsing specific candidates will be frowned upon and not look favorable on by the Taiwanese people. So I would say that that's the bottom line.
That was Dr. Katie Chen. Thanks for listening to Taiwan Talk for ICRT. I'm Keith Manconi.